Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another exciting session of Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. My name is Joe Grabowski, and for those who don't know, we're all about science, adventure, and exploration, conservation, and bringing that into classrooms throughout North America and beyond. As you can hear, I'm in a school, and there's announcements going on at random times, so we might hear those. But anyways, I'm super excited to welcome Anna McNuff today. Anna, if you want to say hi quickly.
Hi!
All right. A little intro for Anna, and then she's going to take over because she's got some pretty cool adventures to share with you. She's a British-born adventurer, speaker, and writer. She was a rower for Great Britain, but retired in her mid-20s to start darting off around the world looking for exciting adventures and challenges. 2013, she did an 11,000-mile cycle through the U.S., visiting all the states. And in 2015, she spent 5.5 months running almost 2,000 miles along the length of New Zealand. And through all these adventures, she raises money for different groups like Right to Play. And it's all about getting students to try some adventures of their own, get outside their comfort zones, and to give them that ability to do so. So, Anna, I think that's more than enough for me. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your adventures.
Cool. Happy days. Right, hello everyone. So I'm coming into you today from my bedroom in London, which isn't particularly exciting, but this is what it looks like. It's in South London, so quite a long way away. But I'm just going to share some. I want to share some pictures with you as I go along because I think that's more interesting, and I can tell you a little bit about me and also why I decided to go off and do these crazy adventures. And I'm going to ask you kids some questions on the way through, so make sure you pay attention. So here we go. Let me just get my screen share going. Let's do that. Okay, cool. I hope you can see everything. Can you see some pictures?
It looks good. We've got a nice shot of you walking into the distance.
That's exactly it. Right, so this is a beautiful, beautiful shot from New Zealand. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to go right back to the start. This is me and my family. Okay, so this is us. Everyone does this at Christmas time, surely. You get dressed up in Santa Claus onesies and you have a wrestling match. You can see Mum there. She thinks she's winning, but actually my little brother there is dominating. But this is just to show you that I came from quite a crazy, outdoorsy, sporty kind of family. And as I grew up, there was always someone going outside and running or doing rugby or rowing. And so I grew up in an environment where I was just constantly encouraged to do the best that I could do and to get outside and explore the world. So that was my background. So thanks to my family, I got a really, really good start in life. And then as the years went on, I became a rower for a while, as Joe said. I started rowing for Great Britain. But then when I finished in that sport, I actually decided that I probably needed to go and get a real job, a proper job, or what people think is a real job. And so I started to spend my days in an office. But around my days in the office, I would go off and do loads of crazy different things. Like I would go and there's a picture there of me swimming around the British Virgin Islands, which is somewhere down in the Caribbean. I decided that I would dress up in a tutu and rollerblade 100 miles around Amsterdam just because I hadn't rollerbladed for a while and I thought I'd see if that was something I could do. I've been mountain biking lots of places around the world, and I also really, really enjoy learning about Britain and my own environment, but doing it in a slightly different way. So that picture that you see there of me and my friend Lydia, we decided to run along one of our most ancient walls in Britain, which is called Hadrian's Wall. But we decided that we would dress up as a Roman soldier and learn about it that way. So I'm just constantly trying to look for ways to learn about things and to follow things that I'm really, really excited about. And what it comes down to is all about this. Okay, this is my favorite picture that I always try and remember. Now I'm going to ask. Let's go for the Kansas classroom. Okay, I'm going to ask the Kansas classroom a question. So you're paying attention. So if I gave you, I want 5 answers from 5 different people. If I gave you 1 hour of your day, how would you spend it? You don't have to do any chores and you don't have to do anything your parents tell you or anything your friends tell you. You can do whatever you like. So can I take 5 answers? Would that be possible?
Absolutely. So, Mrs. Warren's class, your microphone is on.
Okay, great. Kayla, what would you do?
I would spend some time outside with my siblings and play.
Were you able to hear that?
No, what was that one? That was...
She said that she would spend outside time with her siblings.
Love it. Play outside with your siblings. Got it. Cool. Next one.
Hey, Michael.
All I usually do, just sitting around playing games.
Playing games like video games.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, video games. Got it. Next one.
Hey, Aaron.
Just knocking and slamming on my sister's door, trying to annoy her.
Nice. That sounds like family bonding time. Okay, hanging out with your sister by trying to annoy her. I like that one. Next one.
Hey, Elizabeth. Play football with her friends.
Oh, football. Nice, nice. Got it. Last one.
Hey, Kendrick.
I would play some board games with my friends.
Some board games was that?
Board games with his family.
Board games. Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anna, sorry, I need to jump in for just 1 second. Mrs. Warren's class, can you see the slides on the screen?
Yes.
You can
Yes,
see the
I
slides? Mrs. Capone's class, can you see the slides?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we just have one class. Let me just check in with Mrs. Dobransky's class. Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
But you can't see anything.
No, it's a black screen.
Ooh.
Huh. Let's see. Just quickly try to turn your camera on and off. Okay. And then, Anna, can we just experiment just really quickly? Can you turn the share screen off and let's see if they can see you. And we'll try and share one more time. Maybe it'll go through.
Okay, hang on. Stop sharing. See if you can you see me?
Nope.
Huh.
I must have some kind of setting that's blocking my camera.
That's peculiar. Did you see us at the beginning?
Nope.
Okay, you could just hear us. On your screen, do you see, is there a, what's the word I'm looking for? Is there a video screen? It's just blank.
So there's a black screen, and it has icons on the side, like the chat icon and the screen share icon, and showcase. It has all of those on the left, and it has the Google symbol on the top with my camera. It says turn camera off. Now I've got it. So I've clicked that and unclicked it.
Yeah.
It has my bandwidth usage setting,
Okay.
leave call, and then a big live sign.
Okay, my guess is
But nothing in.
the video is being blocked for some reason. So there is an option that we can do. Do you know how to get to the event page?
Would I go back to my email?
Yeah, if you go to the Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants website and to the Hangouts for the month, there'll be an actual event page. And if you want to watch that, you should be able to stream it live from YouTube. And then when we switch to Q&A, you could pop back in and then do your questions just with us being able to hear you.
Okay, we'll try that.
Does that make sense? All right, keep me in the loop through email. Keep an eye on my email.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Love it.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, we do have technical difficulties from time to time. Classes, sorry for that pause. Anna, I hope I didn't
No,
you.
fine.
But yeah, so let's pop back into it. Those were some great answers from Mrs. Warren's class.
Yeah, cool. So we'll go back into it. You can see my screen okay again now?
Yeah.
Cool, fantastic. So thank you so much for those answers. The reason why I've asked you that is because I think we forget, and especially as we get older and we become adults, and we forget how important it is to hold on to those things that we're really, really passionate about. Now, I've only asked 5 of you in one classroom to give me something that you really, really enjoy doing, even if it is winding your sister up. Remember that one. But the thing is, if I asked all of you, you'd all have a very, very different answer. And I think as I've grown up and as I started thinking about adventures, I realised that my thing, my passion, the thing that makes me feel so happy I want to run around and scream at the top of my lungs is adventure. And I think that it's really, really important to hold on to that and to embrace it and not to ignore those things that make you feel so alive. So that's why I started on this path. Now, the thing is about following something that makes you feel really, really alive is that sometimes it's outside that little tiny comfort zone. And that's where we spend so much of our time, is in this little comfort zone, because it's safe and it's easy and it's like, you know, your food's always there and you know you have a paycheck every month. But where the magic happens is right outside of that. So that's what I went in search of. I just thought, come on, there's got to be more to life than sitting at my desk. There's a whole world out there full of amazing people to go and explore. So I thought I'd go and explore it. So my first big idea was, I thought, I know what I'll do. I love America. I absolutely am fascinated by it. But in the UK, we don't necessarily know that much about it. You know, we get a lot of news and we get all the movies and we know about New York City and we know about Arnold Schwarzenegger. But really, I thought, what goes on in your enormous country and that big expanse of land in between? And I thought, what better way to go and explore it than from the seat of a bicycle? So I simply made a plan. I took this map, did a very, very simple line and said, I'm going to ride a bike through every single state of America for 11,000 miles. I'm going to start in Alaska and I'm going to finish up in Hawaii, and in between I'm going to go through all the lower 48 states. So you can see there, sorry guys in Kansas, I just touched the corner. I feel really guilty about that, but it's quite a tricky state to hit. So I spent 6 months of my life doing that. I started in Canada first, in BC, and I did a warm-up there. But it was the most amazing journey, and going from someone who spent every day just in an office doing a job that was okay and was pretty easy, to going and absolutely exploding my mind by riding a bicycle all those miles, it just completely changed my life. And these were some of the things that I did along the way. So I decided, it's one thing, I think, to go and do something you're passionate about and make yourself happy, but it's also really, really important that you try and do something to put some good back in the world. So my favourite definition of success is to leave the world a little bit better than you found it. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to go through all of these states, then why don't I stop in schools along the way and come and visit classrooms like you guys and come and tell you about all the things I've seen and show you my bicycle. And maybe one day you'll realise that you can go and do something like that too. Maybe when you're a little bit older, but you could try it now with your parents. And so that's what I did. I went into schools in every single state along the way. I took a friend with me. This is Lydia. She was a bit upset because on the west coast it's pretty hilly, and this was on the west coast highway, and this was after 2 hills, but she was fine after that. I gave her some jelly beans and she carried on. But I saw some amazing sights. Like, this is Alaska, so I don't know how many of you have been to Alaska, but it was like nothing I'd ever seen before, and that's what I love about adventures. It completely explodes your mind. And this was taken shortly before we ran into 2 grizzly bears who were hanging out at the side of the road, and you should see 2 girls from London trying to work out how to behave around a grizzly bear for the first time. It was hilarious, and we were absolutely petrified, but at the same time completely mesmerised by these animals who have roamed the planet for as long as we have, and we just don't get to see them very often. So I just thought Alaska was absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to get back there one day. Through my bike ride, I had quite a lot of amazing scenery like this. This was my favourite state. People always ask me what my favourite state is, and although I love New Jersey and I love Kansas, Utah really, really surprised me. I'd never seen anything like this before. This is the upper part of what forms eventually into the Grand Canyon, and that's all the rock formations that have just been weathered away by the wind, and there's quite a high lightning strike rate up there. So if you stand up on that ridgeline too long in a storm, the park ranger told us that we were at risk of being struck by lightning, which I thought was quite exciting actually. I went straight across the Nevada desert on my bike. So across Nevada, it's up to 80 miles between towns. I'm sure some of you know that. But I found it a really, really beautiful experience to be there with no one else around and just the sound of my wheels every single day. And I met some very strange people in the middle of the desert. But I also just saw the world at its best state when there's no one else around and the sun comes up over the edge of a mountain, and you can just see for 30 miles across to the next basin. I also had a bit of weather. I mean, in America, Canada as well, you have some serious weather. We don't really get that in the UK. We get a little bit of flooding every now and then, a bit of a windy storm. But this was in South Dakota, and when I went to bed the night before, none of this snow was there. And you can see that's a car. So all that snow had fallen overnight, and of course I can't really ride my bike in that. But luckily I was taken in by the kindest people who were on this farm, and they just saw me cycling down the road and they pulled me over and they said, "What on earth are you doing, you crazy girl from London, on a pink bicycle riding through South Dakota?" And it's a place called Bison where only 300 people live. And and they said, look, there's a big storm coming. You need to come in, and you need to let us help you. And at first I was like, oh, I don't want these people to help me. I feel really uncomfortable. You know, I don't want to be a burden to anyone. I'll just pedal on by myself. And thank goodness I actually thought twice about that, and I thought, do you know what? Life is about letting people help you, letting people show you their kindness when they want to offer it up. And so I accepted their offer and woke up the next morning and it was like that, and I stayed with them for 5 days in the end. It was a massive storm. I think 20,000 homes in the state lost power. And then after that, apparently, America decided that I hadn't had enough bad weather, so I got stuck in the floods that hit Colorado in December in 2013, and that was quite a humbling experience because I'd never been so close to nature at its very, very ferocious point. But again, I just met so many wonderful people, but that was a bit frightening. And then after that, there was one more thing. So I got stuck in an Arctic blast. So about 2 years ago, it was a very, very cold snap of weather that hit the southern US in the winter. And this was in Arkansas. And it was colder there that day than it was in Alaska, which is really cool because if you can see from this picture, I'm a female adventurer. I don't get to grow a beard like all the male adventurers. And I get really, really jealous. So actually in this picture, I got to grow a beard, which was made of my own spit and dribble, which I thought was really cool. First time ever. It hasn't happened since. And then what happened? I came back from my American bike ride, and unfortunately, I went straight back into that tiny, tiny little comfort zone. So I'd just done this most amazing journey that completely blown my mind, and then I just went back into something that was really comfortable again. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not done. So I started thinking about running journeys, and I thought, I can't run very far. I can't run more than, let's say, 3 times in a week before I get injured. So I thought, running's not for me. But then I read about this group of people, and these are the picture you're seeing at the moment is the Tarahumara Indian tribe, and they are a tribe of running people that live in the Copper Canyon in Mexico, and they can run up to 408 miles in one go. In 48 hours, that's how far one of them has run. I just think that is mental, and that's pretty special. But other members of the tribe, they will run up to 250 miles routinely just to like, go and get a cup of milk or something from their neighbouring village. They see it as no problem, and it's men, women, children, kids, all of them. They'll run that far, and I just thought, hang on, this is something that I think I can't do. I think I can't go and run all that distance because my body won't cope. But I looked at these guys' bodies and I thought, hang on, we've got the same genetic makeup. So surely if they're capable of running these distances and capable of pushing themselves that far, then I must be too. So I thought, actually, I'm going to go on a really, really big run. Now, I'm sure you recognise this country. This is way down south in the southern hemisphere. This is New Zealand. And I found this trail called the Te Aroa Trail, and it goes for around about 2,000 miles, the whole length of the country, and it goes across mountains, along ridge lines, it pops onto some beaches at the end, and it goes completely through the backcountry. So I thought, I'm going to go and run this trail all by myself with all of my stuff on my back. And that's what my kit list looked like, okay? I thought it's going to be, you know, be really neat and tidy. I'll go really, really minimal, and that's all the things I was going to take for, let's say, like a 6-month trip. So I'm going to ask a question. So let's go for the New Jersey guys. So can I ask? I want maybe 6 answers of what I'm going to need to pack for a 5.5-month running trip. What do you think I'm going to need to pack?
Water?
Yeah. Water, correct, exactly, water. And sometimes I had to carry up to 7 days worth of water. Yeah, next one. Food, exactly. You can't run without food. And what I found out was that chocolate was really, really important, actually. Yes, you don't leave. Go for it. Clothes. You say clothes? Yeah, I'm not going to run naked, am I? No one wants to see anyone running naked. That's not healthy. Yes, what else?
Extra shoes.
Extra shoes. You are a very clever girl. I'll ask you, how many pairs of shoes do you think I used?
6 months.
6 months.
6.
Oh, close. It was 5. It was 5. Yeah, I'll take one more answer. What do you think I'm going to need?
5.
Here he comes.
A tent.
A tent, yes, clever man, exactly. I took a one-man tent. I'm just going to show you some of the other bits that I took as well. I've got them here with me. So this was, you know, your bed that you all sleep on at night. You know how big that mattress is? Yeah. This is my bed. Look at the size of that next to my face. It's absolutely tiny. So that I rolled out and I blew up and I slept on that every night. I also took one of these. What do you think that is? Can you see?
An iPad?
It's not an iPad. Tell you what it does do. It connects up to a battery, and so this is a solar charger. So it takes all the energy from the sun, it hits onto here, so I don't need to plug anything in. It charges up this battery, and then I plug up my iPhone into this battery, and I've used all natural energy to power my electrical stuff all day. I think that's pretty cool. And some other really, really important bits. This, you know your cooker you guys have all got at home, everyone? This is my cooker right here. It's a little stove. It's called a jet boil. It just connects up like this with some gas, and I put a little bit of water in the top, and I can make noodle surprise, I can make porridge, I can make a lot of different things with that. But that's my cooking system. I've got, let me just go back to sharing my screen. I can show you some other little bits that I've got. Share that. Here we go. So this was a very, very important piece of equipment. This is a GPS tracker, okay? So what this does is that would flash every 10 minutes. Because the trail I was taking was actually really, really remote, I had to be quite careful that I didn't end up in a tricky situation, and I was in places where no one knew where I was. So that tracker, I would turn it on, and it would bleep every 10 minutes. It would bleep and tell someone where I was on the website. Now you can see there's lots of different buttons on there. So there's the one with the footprint on, that would link to my website, and that would tell people where I was every 10 minutes. Then you've got the OK button with the tick and the one with a little bubble on it as well. Those two would send messages to people around the world. So it would send a message to my mum that said, I pressed that and it said, I'm okay, mum, I'm tucked up for the night, I'm safe, I've eaten some food, and I'm warm and dry. And that would mean that she could go to bed and feel happy that I'm safe and alive, and that's very, very important. And the other button on there that's really important is the big, scary SOS button. So that one I pressed if I was ever in any trouble. It didn't have to be pressed, thankfully, but I would just press that button and I would be able to call in a helicopter and someone would be able to come and rescue me. Now, you touched on the trainers. You were almost spot on. I went through 5 pairs of trainers, and that's because the terrain in New Zealand is very, very mountainous. It's lots of rocks and rivers, and so they completely ate my trainers up. So 5 pairs of trainers I went through. Now, the other important bit of equipment that I want to actually share with you is I had a secret weapon, okay? So for days, when I thought I was going to get really, really tired in all that time on the road, I thought I'm going to be running almost 2,000 miles. I'm going to get pretty tired. So I packed something rather special, and it is these. Ah, look at that. You see them? So that is a pair of leggings. It's a pair of tights with a unicorn having a fight with a robot under a rainbow, okay? And I packed these because I thought it is physically impossible. I'm just going to get the unicorn up. It is physically impossible to be unhappy when you've got a unicorn on your right leg and you've got a robot on your left leg. So I think sometimes in life you have bad days, but it's very, very important. You can make that choice to say, do you know what? I'm not going to have a bad day anymore. I'm going to snap myself out of it and I'm going to see the positive in this situation. So that's what those pair of pants was for. We'll get back to the screen, show you some more pictures, and I just want to show you some pictures of the kind of things that I was seeing in New Zealand, because that's the cool stuff. So also on the backpack, so I thought it was going to be 7 kilos, and I thought it would look like this, but the reality was it actually looked like that, which was a complete mess. And you can see a lot of my food in there and all the things that I took. And I thought it was going to be about 7 kilos, which is 7. You think about 7 bags of sugar on your back, but it actually turned out to be 14 kilos on my back. And then there were times when I was running for up to a week between towns, and that would be 20 kilos on your back. So that's like probably putting your you know, your really, really small brother or sister on your back and trying to run with them across the country over some mountains. It got really, really heavy, but it didn't matter, because the fact was I was going to finish and I was taking it one day at a time. So these are some pictures of what the trail looked like. So sometimes trails in Britain are really nicely manicured and they're very well put together, but the trail through New Zealand is pretty much like a sheep track up mountains. You know, not many people go there. And I was following, if you can see those orange poles there, that orange pole, that's what I was following a lot of the time, or maybe just a rock pile. At night, I would stay in huts. These are some of the other markers that I was following, and they'd just be pinned to a tree. And this is what some of the landscape was like. How cool is that? I just think that looks like Disneyland. And you can see my backpack there with my solar panel on it and my GPS charger. And can you imagine what fun it is running through a forest like that? You can't think for a second about anything else other than where your foot is going. I was bouncing and I fell over loads as well. This is another area which I thought was absolutely beautiful. This is a place called Lake Pukaki, so this is in the middle of the South Island. And you can see the lake is that very, very kind of milky blue colour, and that's to do with the levels of sulphur in the lake. So it's all glacial water, and it just mixes together, and it's this weird, it's got a very strange smell to it as well, but you can see Mount Cook there in the background. And that was a beautiful spot, and there was no one else there. This was another section. This is in the North Island. This is a place called Mount Ruapehu, which we're kind of starting to get into winter now, but it was still pretty warm, and yet there was snow up there. So that was one of my favourite sections of the North Island. And this again is something so different. In the South Island, this is a place called the Queen Charlotte Track, where you emerald kind of water and everything's all little dotted islands and bits of land, and it just looks like someone's dropped them there. I thought that was really, really cool. The best thing about running and doing a journey by running is that I got to run up above the clouds. That is seriously cool. You can't get there, you could get there on a bike on a road, but when you're running you get to go places, or even if you're hiking, you get to go places that you couldn't get if you've got wheels. So that's the thing I really, really enjoyed about running up high, was being above the clouds and just feeling like I was completely removed from the rest of the world. It was very, very special. Unfortunately, sometimes the trail looked like this. So this is why it was very important for me to have a GPS device with me, something that allowed me to actually see where I was going when I really couldn't see where I was going with my eyes. So I would have a GPS device, an electrical device that would tell me, according to satellites, where I was on the planet, so that I knew I was going in the right direction. This is a little video of me up at the Tongariro Crossing. So the Tongariro Crossing is one of the highest points in the North Island, and it's normally very, very full of tourists, but I managed to get up there just as the dawn was breaking, and I beat the tourists up there, and you can see it was quite windy. Up on the Tongariro Crossing, and it's just stunning. Absolutely. That's a bit mental. Does the sound come out in that video okay? Joe?
Yes, Sarah, what's up?
Did the sound come out in that video okay?
It did, yeah. I could hear the wind. Yeah.
Good. Just checking, just checking. So this is the Tongariro Crossing. This is what it looks like as the dawn's breaking, and those are clouds you can see over there. So you think that's all just looks like a bunch of marshmallows. That's actually the clouds. That's me above the clouds. And this is the emerald and blue lakes that are at the top of the Tongariro Crossing. And really it's just this massive volcano that once upon a time erupted, and it's all cooled. And I'm sure you've learnt about volcanoes in some of your classes. But it was so amazing to see it there and to understand about all the minerals and these lakes as well. They had a very, very funny smell to them. This is what the Tongariro Crossing looked like 3 weeks after I ran over it. So winter had hit, and luckily I got over it just in time. Now, someone told me I needed to pack a tent. I remember that. So this was my tent. This is where I stayed for most of the time that I was away. This is, yeah, it's a one-man tent, very, very tiny. And you can see up there on the top is Kiwi Kev. He was my stuffed toy, and very, very important to have a stuffed toy, because about 3 o'clock in the morning in my tent, a possum appeared in my tent, all my gummy sweets, and Kiwi Kev, who is chief of tent security, tried to see him off. So that was very important. Now, the rest of the time, if you can see in this picture, you can spot there's a tiny little hut down there, and there's also a tiny little toilet, if you can see two of them. And that's the cool thing about New Zealand. So throughout the whole country, there are all these backcountry huts. And these huts would have been built because there were forest workers in there, and they needed somewhere to spend the night. They would have been built because they were doing a deer cull, so they had to control the deer population back in the 50s and the 60s, and so they would also need somewhere to stay overnight. Or sometimes they needed to go up in the mountains to do some mining, and this was an old miner's hut. There were lots of mice and rat in that hut, but that's fine. I quite like mice and rats. Although one day I did wake up with a mice crawling across my face in my tent, but that was cool. That was fine. I dealt with that. But you need to be friendly with mice and rats. This is another hut. That's just an old backcountry hut just for other hikers as well. But that was built in 1898. That's pretty old. And this is a sheep muster hut. So every year the people in New Zealand will go up into the hills and they'll bring the sheep down for the winter. And sometimes doing that will take a couple of days, so they need somewhere to stay. So you can see they're really basic structures. But it was nice to have that and not have my tent. And this is another musterer's hut. Now, this is the scary point of the journey. Well, it's not so scary. I'm going to come off the pictures for this one. There you go. So you can see my face again. So when I started this trip, I thought the only thing that was stopping me from starting it was that I thought, what happens if I don't finish it? What happens if I don't reach the finish line? And then I thought, what a silly reason to not do anything. So I'm going to ask, which classroom haven't I asked? Can I ask some questions?
Yeah, Mrs. Dobransky's class in Cambridge. I'll turn their microphone on.
Yeah, brilliant. Good. Hello, Cambridge class. Oh, your mic's on. Brilliant. Hi. Can I ask you some questions? Can I ask you, I want, let's say, like 5 answers of what you're frightened of. Things you're frightened of.
Things you're frightened of. Alejandro. The dark.
The dark. Yeah, that's a good one. Scared of the dark. Yeah.
Spiders.
Spiders.
Spiders. Yeah, I'm quite right to be scared of spiders. Yeah.
Emerson. Zombies.
Very real threat in today's society. Yes, zombies. Got ya.
Alex. Snakes.
Snakes. Yeah. Oh man, snakes. Yeah. One more.
Jocelyn. The ocean.
The ocean. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. And can I ask, so the person who said snakes, can you ask them, what does it feel like when they're scared? What does it do to them?
What happens when you're feeling scared? When you see a snake?
I scream.
I scream.
Scream. Right, got it. Scream. And you see all like everything's going like 10 million miles an hour. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your answers.
You're welcome.
I'm scared of a lot of those. Okay, I'm cool. Done. I'm scared of a lot of those things too. But actually, what scared me about doing this run was I thought, what happens if I fail? What happens if I don't complete this run? Like, what on earth are people going to think of me? And then I realised that was just ridiculous, because I thought, why don't I just try? I just start. And I think maybe kids haven't got there yet, but sometimes as we get older, we get so worried about what other people think that we don't even start doing things. And so it was really important that this run was a huge experiment. I thought, do you know what? Whatever happens, I will make it some way, somehow, near the finish line. And even if I don't, that doesn't matter. What matters is that I've tried and I've started. But there was one particular day, and go back to my ugly screen now because I'm going to share an ugly picture, where things went a little bit sour and all of my fears kind of collided in one big ugly mess. Let's share the screen. There you go. So that was my fear. What if I don't make it across the finish line? And this was a day where, like I said, the fears all got a little bit too much. Now, I'm from London, and we have bridges to go over our rivers in London. But in New Zealand, they put their trails right through the rivers. So you have to cross lots of rivers, and sometimes they'd just be up to my ankles, and sometimes the rivers would be as high as my waist. And I was wading through them on my own with no phone signal, no way of speaking to anyone if something went wrong. And I started to get really, really anxious on this particular day as I was making my way up between those two mountains there. And unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention, and this is one of the other river crossings. I wasn't paying attention, and I went over a rock, and my ankle gave out with a really, really loud crack. Now, apart from having to look at a picture of my very attractive feet there, I think you can see on the right-hand side, the ankle is a bit of a bulbous mess. And that was just after I'd done it. And I thought I'd broken it, but actually, what had happened was that I just sprained my ankle. But spraining your ankle, what's that?
I know interrupt again. The screen didn't start sharing again for us.
Oh,
we're still on the slide where you're having, looks like a tea in the morning.
Okay, hang on.
There we go. We gotcha.
Hang on. Let me just screen share. Let me do the other one. I think it's because I shared this one. Thank you for telling me that. That was. Let's do that one.
We didn't want to miss out on seeing your ankle.
No, you don't want to miss out on an ugly picture. Right, I'm screen sharing. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to show you the picture. So this is where I was going up. So you can see it's quite remote, and there's a river that runs through the middle there where you can see it just carving a little path. And this is what some of the rivers were like. So that day, that was a while back, I had someone crossing them with me. But I went over my ankle, and this is what it looked like. So the right ankle there, a bit of a mess. And this was a very, very important point in the trip because, like I said, before I left, all these fears were going around in my mind. Maybe not snakes and spiders because they don't have many of them in New Zealand, but all these other fears like, oh, I'm not a runner. I can't do this. It's too hard. I'm not good enough to do this. But I started anyway. But this day, I ended up with a sprained ankle in a tent by myself. I was exhausted. I was frightened because I'd been crossing loads of rivers. I had no phone signal. I had no way of contacting anyone just to tell me it was all okay. But something very, very strange happened. I got to that point where I was so frightened that I thought I couldn't go on anymore, and then it just melted away. So I think that's the thing with fear that I've learned, that if you go up to it and you explore your fears and you go up to the thing that you're frightened of and that you think you can't possibly cope with, when you actually get alongside it and you make it your friend, it suddenly becomes a whole lot easier to move forward. And after that day, I woke up in the morning and I thought, right, well, I've got two choices. I can either go back 2 days out of the bush, or I can go 4 days on into the bush. And I thought, oh, I hate going backwards. So I managed to find some strapping tape and I strapped up the ankle. And more importantly, I pulled on my unicorn and robot leggings with a rainbow on them because they are my magic medicine. And they made me realise that I needed to be grateful. Even though things had gone completely wrong, I am in a developed world where I have the opportunity to travel, and I was seeing beautiful landscapes, and I thought, do you know what? This isn't going to beat me. This isn't the end of it. I might have a busted ankle, but we're going to push on. And things got better from then on in. There's me in the unicorn and robot pants, and you can see there my ankle strapping actually rather neatly matches my leggings, which I thought was pretty cool. So that was the day after it happened, and it was the only day of the trip where I walked rather than ran, and I had to walk about 13 miles that day, and it took a lot of concentration to not go over on my ankle, and it kept going. But I pushed on, and it was the right thing to do, and after about 6 weeks I didn't have to strap up my ankle anymore. Now on the trip, I was happy a lot of the time. I had some tough moments, but here's a really, really cool lesson that I learned, and hopefully it's applicable to you guys too. So this is one of the mountains that I was going up one day, and it was 40 degrees. I can't remember what that is in Fahrenheit. It was really, really hot. Anyway, put it in this context. My cheese in my backpack and my chocolate, they'd all melted. They turned to smush. And so I was going up this mountain. I don't know if you can see where the trail goes, but it goes up there. And I stood at the bottom, and I thought, how on earth am I going to get all the way up there? I thought, that's not possible. I can't get up there. It's a really, really long way to go. And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to break those steps, that big, big mountain pass. I'm going to break it down into tiny little steps. So I think this is really important. If you've got a big project to do or something where you're feeling a bit like, oh, God, that's so massive, I've just learned, break it down into 1 step at a time, 1 minute at a time, and before you know it, you're at the top of the mountain, and before you know it, you're at the end of a 6-month run. So that's what I used to cope through the weeks as the run went on. The other really cool thing, just before I finish sharing with you, is the people that I met along the way. So I met some really radical people that I wouldn't have otherwise have met, and this is, I'll show you a picture here. This is Coach Ron. He is a Canadian dude, funnily enough. He's from BC, I think, actually. And he hikes with a carbon fibre guitar in his backpack. And he was canoeing across Canada, but it got too cold. So he decided, he's 65, he decided he'd stash his canoe in a bush and he'd come down and walk the New Zealand Trail. And so I just got to meet people like him. And if you stayed with him overnight in a hut, he would get out his guitar and he'd play Johnny Cash tunes. These were some other people. Michelle and Duncan, who drove over a mountain pass to surprise me and bring me coffee and chicken sandwiches because they saw that I'd been stuck in a storm and that I was really low on food, and they just turned up in the middle of nowhere with a sign, and I thought they were weird.
Can you try that share screen one more time? It didn't work on our end.
Oh, thank you. Let's go again.
I want to see that guitar.
You want to see? You don't see the guitar, unfortunately, but we can see.
Okay.
Hang on. You can see Ron though. He's a dude. Right. Can you see this now?
There we go. We got him.
Awesome. This is Ron, the Canadian. Love Canadian Ron. But yeah, you can't see the guitar, but it's in that backpack. He's got a carbon fiber guitar in there. So cool. And he knew every single Johnny Cash tune there was. Brilliant. This was Duncan and Michelle, the ones that came over and rescued me. And like I say, they just appeared at the side of the trail. I came out of the bush and I just saw these two people and they were going, Hannah! Hannah! Like honking their horn. And I thought, who are these weirdos? And it turned out they were two people I'd stayed with a couple of weeks earlier. And yeah, they'd come and brought me coffee and they'd put their child in daycare. And they said they'd build it as a rescue mission. But really, Duncan, the husband, said, no, Michelle, you just want to go and hang out with McNuff a little bit more. So I think it wasn't that quite dramatic. But I got some chicken sandwiches out of it, so it was brilliant. Throughout the run, I had just random strangers. People are so kind. The news is full of a lot of scary stuff sometimes about what goes on around the world. And I think sometimes it's easy to focus on that and not actually how kind-hearted people are. And all the way along, I was just supported by people I'd never met before, and they would just meet up with me and run me out of town. And you can see in this picture, I am so excited to have some friends. It's really nice when you've been alone in the bush for a few days to actually come and be run out of town by a group of trail runners and people who know the way, so I didn't have to navigate as well. So eventually I made it, something that I never thought I'd be able to do, but I decided just to start it anyway and see what happened. And I made it to the top, Cape Reinga. This is the very, very tip of New Zealand. I'd run about 1,911 miles. It had taken me 5.5 months, and I was a little bit tired. But that was my route. Yeah, that's what I did. And yeah, it's just one of the best decisions I've ever made. And New Zealand is a very, very beautiful country. It's got so much amazing natural environment. And I would go there in a heartbeat. And these are some of the other kids that I visited as I went along as well. So I spoke to about 4,000 kids. So I went into schools and I talked to them about the journey and what I was seeing along the way as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I reckon that's about time for some questions.
All right, Anna, that's amazing. Yeah. What a awesome story. Great pictures. And I highly agree with you with New Zealand. I spent a few weeks camper vanning both islands, and you make me feel very lazy. I thought pretty cool camper vanning the islands, but your trip is pretty epic. That's amazing.
It's such a beautiful country. It's amazing landscapes, just phenomenal.
All right, well, let's get the questions going.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to plug my computer in. Dying a bit.
All right, let's grab 2 questions from each class. Let's start off with Mrs. Warren's class in Kansas.
Okay, Taven, ask your question.
Are you famous?
Am I famous?
Yeah.
No, I'm not famous yet. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people that follow what I do on like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. And the Discovery Channel have started sharing my stuff, but I'm definitely not famous at all. But what's really cool about my adventures and what I love doing is that I love just sharing it with people. So if I'm on an adventure seeing something really cool, if I can share that with someone else who's sat in their living room, then that's what's important to me. So it's just to try and help people see the world, but through my eyes. But no, I'll give you a call when I'm famous, and we can go up in a hot air balloon or something. Yes.
Ben.
Did you ever get sick?
Did I ever get sick? Yeah. Do you know what? I got sick once, only once, and it was on my way into Auckland, which is the town where I started from, biggest city in New Zealand. And luckily, I just got a virus. I'd run through about 3 weeks of rainstorms, and I just got a virus. But I have to say, I didn't get sick at all the rest of the time, which I think that's because I was outside. Because sometimes I think if you spend lots of time inside, then everyone's breathing in the same air and it all gets recirculated. But no, I didn't get sick very much at all, just once on the whole run in 6 months, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I could sleep as well. I could sleep for 5 days, so that was nice.
All right, let's grab one more, then we'll go to the next class.
Cool.
Kendrick. Sorry. Go ahead. Ask the one that you were going to ask.
Come on, Kendrick.
Ask that one.
What inspired you to do all the stuff that you do?
What was that? Could you repeat that?
Say it louder.
What inspired you to do what you do now?
To deal with, I just missed the last bit.
What inspired you to do all of your cycling and running adventures that you've gone on?
Do you know what? I've got the very book that I read. Here, hang on. We'll get a nostril shot. Right. This book, okay, this is a book by a woman. You can see she's a bit mental, like me. She's called Rosie Swales Pope, and the book is called Just a Little Run Around the World. And she ran around the world for 5 years on her own. And she got chased by wolves, she got attacked by people, but she made it. She made it over 20,000 miles, and for a long time she was the person who'd run the furthest. And I read this book, and I thought, how brave is she? Isn't that just the most amazing woman to have that strength to even when you're frightened? She didn't really know what she was doing, but she started anyway, and she had the bravery to put herself out there. So that's what inspired me. I thought, here's a human being that does something so outside her comfort zone that she's an inspiration. So that's what started inspiring me. And I think that's it. Yeah, you just need to step out and try it, and that's exactly what she did. Thanks, Kendrick. Thanks, all of you from that class.
All right, great questions. I'm going to turn on Mrs. Capone's class in New Jersey.
Yeah. I feel like I want to bounce when we go to New Jersey. I'm bouncing in New Jersey.
I know. If you're wondering, we have like yoga balls that they
Awesome!
can sit on as chairs. They're stability balls.
I think that's great.
They get to move a little, and it makes them sit up straight.
Fantastic. Good idea.
My name is Christian.
What's that?
My name is Christian.
Sorry, say it once more.
My name is Christian, and
Oh, hi, Christian. Cool.
I was wondering, would you ever do another adventure? And if so, would you go back to the ones that you have done, or do a different one?
That's a very good question. I definitely am going to keep doing lots more adventures because, I mean, you've seen maps of the world. It's an absolutely enormous place. I think there is so much to learn from the cultures and the environment. So I don't think I'll go. I love America, so I'll definitely be coming back to America at some point. But I think my next adventures will be somewhere quite different. So I'm thinking I've got one adventure coming up in Europe, because I haven't actually seen much of Europe, even though it's really close to my back garden. And then I'm thinking about South America next, because to go somewhere where I don't speak the language and people's lives are very different to mine, I think that allows you to put it in perspective. Where would you go, Christian? Where would you go on an adventure?
Florida!
Florida! Yes! I like Florida. It's warm down there.
Yeah, that's nice. I'd be afraid of it.
Okay, go ahead, Ava.
Hi, I'm Ava.
Hi, Eva.
I was wondering, did you miss your family at all?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yes, I did. And I think it's funny because when you go on these big trips, what happens is by the end of them, you actually realise that the really, really important things in life are all the tiny things like having a cup of coffee with your mum, you know, trying to beat up your brother or your sister. Like, they're all the things that make life special. And so I definitely missed my family while I was away. But that's why Skype helps, and being able to video call people. So I probably spoke to my mum maybe once a week, once every 10 days or something. But yeah, I really missed them. There's nothing quite like a hug from your mum when you get home.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next one.
Hi, my name's Olivia.
Hi, Olivia. Nice top. Good colour.
Thank you. How did you train for your adventures?
That's a very good question. So for my bicycle trip, I had to actually take a second job. So I worked 7 days a week before I went. So I didn't do any cycling. So that's why I went to Canada first, to do a little bit of gradual cycling. And with the bike trip, it was just a case of not starting too hard. Your body is an amazing thing. If you treat it very, very carefully and with respect, but be quite firm, it will eventually work out what's going on. We're made to evolve, and bodies will do incredible things. For my run, I would run between 60 and 80 miles a week as practice. So I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I'd run 15 miles to work, and then I'd work my day, and then I'd get the train home. So I just tried to get my body used to it. Yeah, so the trick to doing adventures, I think, is just to treat your body very kindly and with respect, but know that eventually it will do anything you want it to. It's all up here in your mind. If you have strength in your mind, you can make your body do anything. Maybe not backflips. I don't know. Maybe one day. Thank you, Olivia.
All right, another great set of questions and a really great point there about training your body, because you really can do a lot if you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
Mrs. Dobransky's class, thank you for being so patient, and I'm glad we got your stream working as well.
Excellent. The picture's a little bit behind. It's a little bit lagging, but we can definitely hear you guys in real time. So Kira has a question.
Cool.
Did you ever feel like giving up?
Oh, that's such a good question, Kira. Do you know what? I honestly never did, because I thought something could have happened. When I hurt my ankle, when I sprained my ankle, I thought this could be something that ends my trip, that's beyond my control. But I never actually thought that I would willingly, being physically able, I would willingly give up on a challenge I set myself. And do you know what? When you actually say to yourself, I'm not giving up, that's not even an option, it becomes so much easier to carry on, because that's not an option anymore. You're not giving up. That's not even something you have to think about. So I never thought about giving up, but I did have to play lots of mind games, lots of little ways to break my days down. If I was having a bad hour and I was hurting or in lots of pain, that I just had to say, I just need to get through the next hour. I just need to run for the next 15 minutes and then it'll all be okay. So I used lots of mind games to try and get myself through it. But I never thought about giving up.
Nice.
Nice. Thanks.
And we have a question from Nathaniel.
Hi, Nathaniel.
What was your goal?
What was my goal for the whole run? What was the reason? Is that what you mean?
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
What was the reason for the run?
Yes, yeah. So my goal was obviously to make it to the end of the run, to run the whole trail. But really, my goal was to set aside a period of my life where I went and did something that scared me a lot, that I didn't know if I could complete it, and to see what happened if I just went and tried. So that was the goal. And what I found out is that if you just try, you have an amazing adventure and you learn an awful lot about yourself. So that was the goal, and I reckon I did it.
Awesome. And can we take one more question from Olivia?
Cool, definitely. Yeah. Bring Olivia in.
Did you almost feel like you would die once?
You know what? I never felt like I would die. When I hurt my ankle, I was actually frightened of what might happen if I injured myself. And there were a couple of other points, like at one point I slipped and I snapped my shoulder quite badly. And the thing about New Zealand is that it can be very remote, so you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. So there was always that fear that if something happened, there is always the potential, but I never let that overwhelm me. I think if you get really, really frightened about thinking you might die or something, then you'll never actually go and live your life properly. So I tried to control those thoughts.
All right. Anna, I don't know, that was amazing. Thank you so much for that awesome presentation. Thank you so much for hanging out with these classrooms today. I can't wait to have you join Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants again.
Yeah.
Maybe what we can do, just because we're getting close to the hour mark, if you don't mind, maybe just sharing one more piece of wisdom to wrap up with the classrooms, and then I'll turn their mics on so they can say goodbye and thank you.
Yes, cool. Okay. My final piece of wisdom would be, find that thing that you're really, really passionate about, that you really, really love, that makes you so happy. Hold on to it, explore it, and don't let things you're frightened of get in the way of going and starting things you might not be able to finish. That is it.
That's some good advice. I like that. That's a good way to wrap things up for today. So thank you so much to the classrooms who joined in today, Kansas, New Jersey, and just down the road in Cambridge. You can find more information on Anna's website, annamcnuff.com, and she's got a new exciting adventure coming up, which you'll hear more about in the near future, and we're definitely going to have her back. So I'm going to turn the microphones on and give the classes a chance to say goodbye and thank you. So here they come.
Thank you.
There they are. All classrooms have an amazing day. Anna, enjoy your evening. I know it's getting around supper time, and thank you again so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Bye.
We're signing off for today.